One of the best points that I think is made in The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck is that the real key to finding the right career path for you is to get into an industry or some kind of work where you enjoy solving the problems. You find something where you enjoy solving problems that other people don't. That's the key thing. Because most jobs, more or less, reap the same benefits. This is why it's a bad idea to talk about... Hello. It's a bad idea to talk about the advantages of a job. Like you know when you like apply to a job and they list a bunch of like bullshit sort of advantages to working there, like sort of free healthcare and you know, a nice office, you know, casual dress code, that kind of thing. I try to avoid like worrying too much about those things, because the thing is you kind of get the same advantages out of anything. You know, you get status if you're good at it, and you get money if you're good at it. You know, you get security. No matter what you get at, no matter what career you're doing, you're kind of doing it for the same reasons, right? And the kind of the same positives will come no matter what. But the difference is that comes in with the problems you're solving. So, for example, you could just be someone who just loves sitting on a computer and sorting out logical problems. Like those problems for you, it's not a pain to sort out. Like I remember, like when I was in school, there was this one guy who was just really fascinated by maths. Like he just loved it, and we'd sit in forums together, and he'd just be sitting there with a pad of paper, and he'd be just writing out sort of maths equations and then trying to work out how to solve them. You know, he would be a great candidate for being a coder, you know. Like this is the big sort of lifestyle of, you know, at the moment, you know, becoming a freelance coder, you know, being a digital nomad. But the truth is, unless you're someone like that, who just loves sorting out logical problems, coding really, there's not much advantage to it. It's not going to be that much fun for you. Take another example, you know, you just love talking to people, you love sort of negotiating, you love engaging, you know. A lot of people don't love, that's the thing, a lot of people don't realise that what's fun for them is a chore for other people, you know. But some people really just love negotiating, they love talking. They'd make excellent salespeople, you know. Some people, the idea of negotiating something or sort of building a rapport with someone, it's just not fun. You know, they'll do it, but it's a bore, you know. And I've really thought about this with my own life, because one thing that I think I enjoy more than anything really is just kind of decoding language, just like making sense of a foreign language, and that manifests itself in many ways, you know. It gives me a love of sort of literature and writing and stuff, but just one thing that's just really sort of obvious about me, really sort of different about me, is that I can just sit and sort of puzzle over a foreign language, like you know, my friend would puzzle over maths. I could just sit down and sort of work out a new language, you know, quite happily on my own. Like, I remember at school we did these things where they'd sort of, it's called like the language Olympiads, and you could just, what you'd do is they'd just give you like a really obscure language, like Georgian or Icelandic or something like that, like a language that you'd probably never have studied otherwise, and they get you to just work it out. So they'll give you like basic cue, if it's a different alphabet, they'll give you like a few letters, and then you just kind of work it out from the rest of it. And you know, most people are really boring. I fucking loved it. I find that stuff so interesting. You know, and like I've been studying Russian a lot recently, you know, and I'll just sit there with an easy Russian sort of video with subtitles, and I'll just play one little sort of snippet, pause it, write down the Russian, rewind it, you know, play it again, and just do that for, I can just do that for like hours on end, you know. It's just such a flow activity. But for most people that is just so boring. And I've just kind of ignored this, because I've kind of thought like it has to be hard for it to be productive. but the truth is, for most people, that is really hard. That is really boring. They'd never do it. And so I just suddenly thought, like, just make the most of it, you know? Like, you know, I've not been living my life in a way that I'm making the most of that, you know? It's weird. I mean, I went to university in the UK and you know, got a student loan and like had to pay for it. But in the Czech Republic, I think in the, like the University of Prague or whatever the university's called there, they will just, if you go there and like learn Czech, they'll just pay for your uni. And look, I'm not saying like that would have been a good idea. You know, I'm very grateful for my university experience as it was, but you know, like I just didn't even consider that. Like for most people, that makes sense because you know they'd never want to learn like a difficult language like Czech. You know, just wouldn't make sense to unless they had a really big incentive to. Because learning languages it just wouldn't be as exciting. But for me, I just think I'd like to learn Czech anyway. You know, and I do that, and university is free. Like, you know, so my message really here is just work out what you do, what you enjoy doing that other people really hate doing. Because it's so liberating when you realise that, and you've got this kind of superpower to just do something that for most people is really boring. You know, like the examples of things that I've noted, you know, are just really boring for most people. But I could just sink into them for just days on end. And that's really where your potential is to sort of success, I think. You know, just working out what that thing is. You know, that's the thing, like so many people are just trying to become programmers or coders because it's kind of cool, it's kind of cool niche to go into. But like, it's only going to be worthwhile if you really can just sit for days on end in front of a laptop and just really puzzle over coding. And you know, I was thinking about getting into coding and all this because I thought it would be a cool lifestyle. But you know, I actually talked to coders, you know, people who are really interested in it. You know, there was like their bread and butter. They've made lots of money off it, and I was like, I don't have that same sort of energy and excitement about it. Now, could I do it? Sure, of course I could. But there's no reason for me to. So, you know, back to the drawing boards, you know, find something else. And I'm not saying that, like, you find, you know, I'm not saying that I could just sit in front of a laptop and learn Russian and earn money doing that. But, you know, you use a little bit of initiative and slowly you begin to find some way that your sort of flow activity can be really useful. And yeah, it's different for other people and like you know, you have to block certain things together, you know, like to make something, you know, you can't just use the raw flow activity, you have to sort of stack it on top of other things. But I think that's really the way to go, is just to find your flow activity.